was little, Diddy took me to a mansion and did very bad things to me. Diddy ruined my childhood. Diddy said, "Sell me Haley. I will give you a good amount of money." I wanted to expose everything, but Diddy threatens me not to do so.
Is this real life?
Yes, this is real life.
I feel crazy.
It was hard for me being that young and being in the industry and not knowing where to turn and everyone, telling me they love me.
What was the worst moment of your teenage years?
My worst moment of my teenage years was probably being locked up.
As the Diddy trial enters its second week, Justin Bieber has finally spoken out against Sean Diddy Combs. You'll be startled to learn who was involved in Diddy's recent public speech, which addressed all of the accusations and named all of the celebs. Evidence of A-listers related to Diddy has been presented by prosecutors demonstrating that Diddy wasn't operating alone. Diddy's misdeeds were being covered up by some of Hollywood's top figures, and now they're all falling out.
He's coming back out anytime soon.
I'm scared that security will pull out. I'll fucking run into the Harry Potter.
I do feel kind of sorry for him. We're all trying to bombard.
Oh my god, I thought they called to me.
What do you care about, guys? It's money. You don't care about people. Only money. Only money. No people. You don't care about human beings. Go. Go. Go.
The jurors have been provided with a list of names by the prosecutors. Numerous A-level celebrities are among the more than 100 names on this list, and they will all be brought up during the trial. As we've previously seen with Kanye West, Hollywood is covertly on Puffy's side, even if the public favors Cassie. In private, these celebs are working to have Trump pardon Diddy. This explains why Kanye West, Michael B. Jordan, and other famous people were mentioned during Sean Diddy Combs' trial.
Here's why Michael B. Jordan, Kanye West, and more celebrities were name-dropped at Sean Diddy Combs' trial. As jury selection in the mogul's sex trafficking trial got underway May 5th in New York, NBC News reports prospective jurors were shown a list of more than 100 names of people and places that may be referenced during the trial, including actors Michael B. Jordan, Mike Myers, and rapper Kanye West. While the aforementioned celebrities are not implicated in the case, the potential jurors were asked whether they knew any of the names listed and whether it would impact their ability to be impartial, per the outlet. Attorneys did not share an explanation for the list. The names of women who have taken legal action against Combs were also on the list, including his ex-girlfriend Cassie Ventura, whose November 2023 sexual abuse lawsuit against the rapper was settled one day after it was filed. Danity Kane alum Dawn Richard, who accused Combs of sexual assault in a lawsuit filed in September, was also listed. Combs has denied any wrongdoing in both cases.
In all instances, Combs has denied any misconduct. For the first time since Diddy was indicted, representatives from Justin's camp have spoken out publicly about the Diddy situation. Although Justin's representatives claim that he was not mistreated by Diddy, he is aware of the actual abuse occurring behind the scenes and stands with anybody who comes out. Observe that Justin never explained the allegations of assault. This is because Justin feels certain that the accusations of abuse were true. Following months of conjecture on their brief romance, Justin Bieber finally spoke out about the experience. Justin is not one of Sean Combs' victims, but there are others who were really hurt by him, his representative told E.T. The justice that these victims so richly deserve is diminished when attention is diverted from this fact. When the rap mogul's arrest for sex trafficking and racketeering charges he denies, made news, Bieber's dubious relationship with Diddy sparked a surge in internet interest. Resurfaced are old videos of the two of them hanging around when Justin was a minor.
Let's just go get some girls. Let's go get some girls.
Man after my heart, that's what I'm talking about.
We hit him like this, so me and you walking, we hanging out, you know, a little later on the night after the Usher concert.
There's also this old Jimmy Kimmel Live segment, adding to fan fears about what might have gone down with Diddy.
Got me a Lamborghini.
That's nice.
I haven't gotten it yet, though.
When is that coming, that Lamborghini? We talked about this last time.
He had the Lamborghini for a day or two, and he had access to the house, and he knows better than to be talking about the things that he does with Big Brother Puff on national television.
Oh, apparently not.
Everything ain't for everybody.
This all comes as Bieber's followers are worried for him, the singer's erratic social media posts causing concern week after week, the Beliebers asking if what he's seen behind the scenes of the industry.
When Justin was 13, Usher signed him. Following Diddy's instructions, Usher's record label, LaFace Records, signed Justin. Usher gave Justin to Diddy once he joined the team. Justin didn't have Diddy as a manager, mentor, or even a talent counselor, so why was Justin placed under Diddy's custody?
I was flown out to Atlanta by a manager. His name's Scooter Braun. Flown out to Atlanta just to meet with him and meet different producers and different people. I was actually going to meet Jermaine Dupri at his studio, and who rolls up? Usher in his Range Rover. It rolls up. And I was like, is that who I think it is? And Scooter was like, yeah. And so I ran up to him and I was like, Usher, I love your songs. You want me to sing you one? And he was like, let's just go inside, little buddy. It's cold out. So the politest possible way he could say no, he did. And I was like, wow, he just turned me down. And I was a little disappointed. He had to go into a studio session, so I was like, whatever. And a week later, he actually watched my videos with my manager. And was like, oh my gosh, why didn't I let him sing? So flew me back to Atlanta where I got to meet him again, and he wanted to sign me, but there was something else.
Justin Timberlake, right?
Yes, Justin Timberlake also wanted to sign me. It was like kind of like, what happened was Justin Timberlake and Usher both went into a ring and boxed it out, and the outcome was Usher. I think it was a TKO.
Justin Bieber turned 15, and it suddenly seemed that Hollywood was keen to almost initiate him. I think that's the right word. Like there was almost like this initiation that he needed to go through. So I want you to be now super uncomfortable and watch this video of an interaction between him and none other than Diddy. Take a listen.
Justin, you ever seen the movie 48 Hours? Right now, he's having 48 hours with Diddy, him and his boy. They're having the times of their lives, you know, where we hanging out and what we doing, we can't really disclose, but it's definitely a 15-year-old's dream. You know, I have been given custody of him. You know, he signed to Usher.
I'm signed to Usher.
I had legal guardianship of Usher when you know he did his first album. I did Usher's first album. I don't have legal guardianship of him, but for the next 48 hours. He's with me, so and we gonna go full crazy. What's up, man? You good?
I'm good. How are you doing?
Young brother, everything's good.
Everything's
Selling
great.
out arenas and everything. Starting to act different, huh?
No,
you ain't been calling me and hanging out the way we used to hang out.
Well, I mean, you try to get in contact with me, you know, through all my, partners and whatnot. Mm-hmm. But you never really got my number, so.
Correct. Okay.
My number?
Yeah.
I'm gonna tell you my number.
Yeah.
Diddy reportedly pimped Justin around to other celebs after using him. Justin began acting out at the same time as there were reports that Diddy was mistreating him.
my bitch, I'ma break it again. Feds peeping the spot. Hey, feds outside, like them Yeezys go dry. Yeah, she think. Watch a little bitch, you get it mad. I'm getting rich, you get it mad. I'm getting rich.
Cookouts, yeah, that's why I'm standing on Ferraris, nigga. In the 6'4", 6'5", too big for a Bugatti. That's why I'm standing on Ferraris, nigga.
Justin was turned over to Diddy by Usher. Insiders claim that Usher just signed Justin as a favor to Diddy, since Diddy was having problems getting him to sign. Justin has entirely cut ties with Usher and Diddy in recent years, including turning down Usher's invitation to play at the Super Bowl. Is Raymond Usher IV someone you know? No. Oh.
You get career. Do you know Raymond Usher IV? No. Do you know an individual, an entertainer by the name of Usher?
Yeah, Usher. That sounds familiar.
Isn't it true that Usher was instrumental in starting your career?
What does that have to do with this litigation, Mr. DeKalb? This is just you trying to harass the client.
Before we came back here, you had asked me.
She's going to let her read back the question. Thank you for your memory.
Is it true that Usher was very instrumental in starting your career? That was the last question. I was found on YouTube. I think that I was detrimental to my own career.
Justin Bieber, is continuing the purge. He has now moved to unfollow Usher, okay, his original mentor. So this is a very big story. And the reason why we should discuss this and we should not diminish what is happening, it's not celebrity drama. This is actually the fall of Babylon that we are witnessing, Hollywood Babylon, that is. Of course, many people, I believe, are accurately assuming that this has something to do, one element has to do with the Diddy lawsuit. A lot of revelations were made in the Diddy lawsuit. So I'm going to start this by saying allegedly. Okay, obviously, he has not yet been convicted of everything, but I knew that he was going to get arrested because after reading through this lawsuit, there were just so many pictures, way too many descriptions. He had hours of video footage proving his claims. I'm referring to the person who initially filed this, Rodney Lil Rod, a producer who went into great detail, laborious effort to basically describe almost a homosexual ring in which people were being drugged at various Diddy parties. But he describes how essentially him, being a young producer, they tried to initiate him into homosexuality. And I'm going to read this directly from a lawsuit. It says, quote, Mr. Combs, that's Diddy, used access to Stevie J and his knowledge that the producer, Mr. Jones, admired Stevie J to groom and enticed Mr. Jones to engage in homosexuality. But then there's a footnote in the filing, right? Because the names are redacted. And in the footnote, it reads that regarding the R&B singer that Diddy allegedly slept with, he performed at the Super Bowl and had a successful Vegas residency. So this let people know that very clearly the name that was redacted had to have been Usher, because it was Usher who recently performed at the Super Bowl, and it was Usher at the time of this filing who had just had a very successful Vegas residency.
Justin has also discussed the unfavorable remarks he made in the music business. Justin spoke about how he still feels ashamed in an interview with Apple Music. Justin wants to safeguard the next generation of artists entering this field.
It was hard for me being that young and being in the industry and not knowing where to turn, and everyone, telling me they love me and, just turn their back on you in a second. So yeah, it's hard because I want her to know that, she can count on me. But at the end of the day, I'm never gonna force myself to be in a relationship with her. It has to be natural, right? So I just kind of, let her do her thing. And if she ever needs me, I'm gonna be here for her. But yeah, just protecting those moments because people take for granted encounters and Yeah, so, yeah. I just want to protect her, you know? I don't want her to lose it. I don't want her to, you know, go through anything I went through. I don't wish that upon anybody. So, yeah, if she ever needs me, I'm just a call away.
Justin's use of narcotics was only a means for him to block out the memories of what he had to endure, which still haunt him now. Hollywood is a filthy and gloomy place. Children are exploited, and their parents don't even give a damn about what happens to them. These individuals are content as long as they can utilize their kids to get money.
I get it. So you see some guys struggling with that. You see Bieber struggling with that. You see some of these guys struggling with that.
They can't get it out of their head. They can't get it out of their head. The things that they did, no matter how they did it, whether they were drunk or high or whatever, you gave up your man card. You need therapy. And that's the thing that hurts them the most. And so they end up on drugs, end up every way to try and get rid of any principles there are. And that's what the business does. And the women that trade their bodies to go and get the role, they get to the point where they have their Oscar, they have their money, but they don't have their dream. They don't have the soul that they started with. So it's like achieving don't mean anything. If I get all the Nobel Prizes from doing all of this, but in the process I have to trade out all of my integrity to do it so that they can stay in place, what benefit is that?
Diddy could never have done all of this alone. This industry is built on the backs of pedophiles. And that's the only reason Diddy was able to get away with everything for so long. Usher already knew what kind of person Diddy was after Diddy took him to Puffy Flavor Camp at the age of 13. He knew that Diddy abused minors and what Justin would have to go through, but he still handed Justin over to Diddy. The cycle of abuse started with Usher turning Justin into a victim too. They wouldn't let him.
Heard the video, and Perry says, "Are you crazy? You better get down there and meet this kid right now. He's amazing."
When all these pics come out and all this stuff with Bieber's big penis, are you the mastermind behind that? Say, listen, show off your big penis and people will come to those concerts? Or are you sitting there?
Is that the kind of managing he's doing?
Usher, are you sitting down with him and saying, yeah, show your cock or leave it in your pants? I mean, do you sit him down and say, look, part of this is PR,
Hey,
man.
by the way, he does have a brain of his own.
Yeah, but were you shocked at the size of his penis?
Hey, listen, he has a mind of his own. What he chose to do with his penis is his prerogative. He's managing that aspect of his life.
But Usher is somebody...
I have nothing to do with Justin Bieber's private parts, man. Come on.
Through the years, Justin has hinted at everyone who abused him. Justin Bieber used images in his music video for the song Yummy that suggested Clive Davis was also a rumored abuser. Justin hinted that everyone is a target for some music execs by using images of newborns to promote the song.
Anyways, I want to also just show you this montage. This is a montage that was shared by Evie Magazine. They do great work on their TikTok of Justin Bieber, again, just 15 years old, in Hollywood, surrounded by a bunch of adults. And you let me know if any of this registers to you as normal. Take a listen.
Wow. I feel violated right now. Wow.
Lean into me again. You smell amazing. How old are you?
Thank you.
How old are you?
I'm 16. I'll be 17 in like 2 weeks.
I don't ever remember smelling that good at 16. Like that was bad.
Yeah.
Wow, look at your eyes. Look at what a beautiful face. All right, now it's time to...
Would you rather have to be naked on stage during one full song, or drink a cup of blended worms? Answer, Justin Bieber.
I have like little girl fans. I can't go.
Okay, imagine that.
No, I got bullied.
Get that off
Hey,
there.
hey, this is a brand new.
Has your mom given you the sex talk yet? I mean, like, I really don't want to have that conversation with my mother. Yeah. Like, I've kind of had it with my father. You want to hear? Oh, really? See, my parents never gave me the sex talk. Okay.
That last one is really just the sickest, asking a young teenage boy, whether or not he's had the sex talk. Like, he's doing a media hit on a radio, and she's asking him as one of the questions, like, have you had the sex talk? This is Hollywood for you guys.
You see now you pressing Bieber.
Yeah.
Yo, what's up? Like, I'm calling you and answering.
Yeah, that was a little.
That was weird.
That was crazy.
That was weird.
They did not run through Bieber at that
Still
point.
was pressing him like, why you not answering your phone? Like, yo.
Yeah. Like, I don't got a video of me fingering you.
He wasn't answering for a reason.
He was like, I don't ever
fingered last time.
Because you did things to me.
Diddy groomed this person, but Cassie was also a victim. At the young age of 19, Diddy began to nurture Cassie. Nobody found it strange that Diddy, a 40-year-old guy, was having sex with a 19-year-old female. Following her testimony, Cassie also made a statement. Cassie says it hurts more the more she recalls, but she's glad she was able to stop and abuse her. Justin most likely has this as well.
And she told us how.
A film that was so disturbing that it hushed even the most seasoned onlookers was shown as the courtroom lights went down on the 8th day of the trial. Diddy's children, Chance, Jesse, and Delilah, were seated in the front row and were clearly scared. After a few moments, they got up and left the room, leaving their father standing there, gazing and crying. The words outside the courtroom describe a film that shattered illusions and revealed the cracks underlying the Combs family's well-guarded image. But what they saw in that clip was kept secret by a court order. This was more than simply a courtroom drama. It was a myth coming to an end. Once considered impenetrable, the family was now collapsing under the weight of its most sinister secrets. As the trial progresses, more than just Diddy's guilt is at stake. The true inquiry is, to what extent were his children aware of the truth, and what part did they play in its disclosure? This is the tale of silence, treachery, and a legacy that is being questioned. Media vehicles, flashing cameras, and protest placards raised by justice-seeking demonstrators filled the pavement outside the tall federal courtroom in downtown Manhattan. In addition to the fact that the trial was one of the largest celebrity scandals in recent memory, there was a sense of unease because something was different. There had been rumors of an impending surprise. Nobody had any idea what it would be, but they were all surprised by what transpired next. Reporters, lawyers, and federal officials had occupied the courtroom for weeks, but one row of seats, the ones designated for family members, remained conspicuously vacant. John Combs, also known as Diddy, had kept his kids away from the mayhem. Insiders claim that he specifically instructed them not to go. They were shielded from the unvarnished and sometimes upsetting testimony that was presented to them every day. Image control was the foundation of his job, and it also applied to his kids. They were to avoid becoming involved. When three figures entered the courtroom on a rainy Tuesday morning and sat down in the first row, that illusion was destroyed. It was their half-sister, Chance, and the twin children of the late Kim Porter, Delilah, and Jesse. There was no announcement of their arrival. PR statements were absent. Nobody anticipated them. However, it seemed like the room's temperature had plummeted by 10 degrees as they walked in. Delilah had an inscrutable face and was wearing a black trench coat. With a little notepad in her hands, Jessie trailed closely behind. At the middle stood Chance, taller than both, calm, yet clearly agitated. They whispered in the courtroom. Silently, cameras snapped from behind. Sketch artists rushed to get a picture. Their arrival was seismic, not just unexpected. Diddy steered away from them across the room. His mouth was clenched as he murmured something to his lawyer. The prosecutor stopped in the middle of his sentence and glanced at the change in the room. The fact that his children were there at the trial he attempted to keep them away from was a clear setback for a guy who had always taken pleasure in controlling the narrative. Speculation started right away. Why now? Why now? According to several courtroom observers, they gathered together to publicly support their father out of sympathy. Some weren't so certain. There was something more profound beyond their serene faces. Delilah's mouth was clenched. Jesse continued to glance over the evidence table. Sitting between them, Chance maintained an almost belligerent stare on the judge's bench. Three females weren't there only to express their love with these looks. They seemed to be preparing for impact. For whatever reason, the occasion signaled a change in tone. Up until that point, the trial had been characterized by defense arguments and accusations. It now had a pulse, a split family, and the daughters of a music mogul entering a maelstrom that he may no longer be able to control. And everyone in the audience understood that a huge moment was about to happen. There had been plenty of unsettling testimony in the courtroom, but nothing had prepared anybody for what would happen when the prosecution presented a piece of evidence known only as the White Party Archive. Diddy's notorious white parties were seen as emblems of wealth by the general public. There were champagne towers, homes by the sea, white dress rules, and guest lists that featured tech millionaires, Hollywood aristocrats, and music aristocracy. Images from those evenings depicted luxury, solidarity, and celebrity. However, the video that the court was about to see provided an alternative viewpoint that was not visible on the red carpet or on gossip blogs. The prosecutor quietly arose and spoke to the court. "We would like to play an exhibit that was previously marked for review," she said. The judge nodded silently, and for a brief moment, all eyes were fixed on the screen high on the courtroom wall. She explained that it was a digital recording with the label 2018-White Party-Private Archive, and that the content would give context to the testimony we've heard over the past week. For a few seconds, there was only static. The video then started to play. It first seemed to be from a high-end music video set, a vast seaside villa illuminated by white and blue. In the backdrop, palm trees are swaying. People walking over the poolside deck wearing nice, expensive clothes. I'm holding a drink. Beneath the images, the music pounded, a bass-heavy beat accompanied by whispers, laughing, and the sound of crystal glasses clinking. However, the glitz of the celebration soon gave way to something else. The camera panned inside while the video continued. The audience became more raucous. The style of clothing changed from sophisticated to simple. Previously ambient, the illumination now pulsed in bright purples and reds. In cramped spaces, some people danced while clearly drunk, while others performed in ways that caused jurors to gasp. The video then became darker. One scenario showed a guy talking to a group of young ladies while wearing a white suit. Another guy behind him distributed little foil packages that seemed to be medications. No pretense of privacy existed. Eyes were staring, cameras rolling, and suddenly, everything came to a halt. A fresh sight came into view. The camera shook, as if it was being handled by someone who was attempting to blend in. A lady sat by herself on a white leather sofa in the corner of a dimly lighted room. Her eyes were not focused. Her mouth was slightly open as if she was attempting to talk, but was having trouble forming words. And her posture was slouched. The sharpening of the resolution revealed who she was: Porter Kim. She could not be mistaken. The courtroom erupted in whispers. One of the reporters dropped their pen. Delilah and Jesse, Diddy's twin children, sat still. One gave a quiet, uncontrollable gasp. The other one gripped her sister's wrist with a shaking hand. Kim's face was haunted by the video. She didn't seem to notice the camera. Her respiration was weak, and her once bright features were lifeless and dim. Just minutes before, the courtroom was crowded with dozens of people. Now, it was empty, quiet, and oppressive. Delilah blinked quickly, like she was trying to shake off a bad dream. Jessie looked aside, tears in her eyes already. Strong, bright, and protective, their mother had been caught in a moment that no kid should ever see. Diddy tensed from the defensive table. He made fists out of his hands. He briefly seemed prepared to get up, yell, and use his body to obstruct the screen. However, he remained still. The video terminated suddenly, just darkness, with no outro or soundtrack. The ensuing hush was intolerable. It was ultimately broken by the judge's voice. Let the record attest to the exhibit's inclusion in the evidence. However, nobody was paying attention since the issue was now, what was Kim Porter doing there? Rather than, was it about a party or a video? Why did she seem that way? How long has this video been out there without anybody in her family being aware of it? Not only did the White Party Archive alter the course of the trial, but it also caused a rift among the family. There was a breathless silence in the room as soon as the screen went black. Nobody spoke, nobody moved. The permanent emotional hole it left behind was more significant than the fact that the video had finished. With her fingers white-knuckled around the edge of her seat, Delilah sat bent forward. She stared at the spot where her mother's picture had been moments before. As she struggled to keep herself together, Jessie sat next to her, tears streaming down her face and her bottom lip quivering. Despite not saying a word on that video, their mother, Kim Porter, had made a powerful statement with her silence. The girl's determination was broken by her confused look, her lack of focus, and her fragility. Suddenly, Jessie's shoulders started to tremble. She let out a low whimper, the type that had no place in a courtroom. Jessie was unable to contain her sister's hand as Delilah stretched for her and grasped it. The heavy quiet was broken by her quick, harsh sobbing, and that was all. The dam was broken. With a start, Delilah sprang up and dragged Jessie to her feet. Chance stood up too, supporting them both. Once sitting together, the three sisters now held on to one another like survivors from a crash. Their tears reverberated off the polished wood and marble walls as they staggered out of the courtroom, raising murmurs from the seats. Pens limp in their hands, reporters in the back row froze. One jury averted his gaze, clearly disturbed. The court artist paused her drawing in the corner and dropped her gaze. Nobody had anticipated the collapse to feel so raw, or to occur so abruptly. Diddy yelled back at the defensive table. His chair's metal legs screeched over the floor like a scream as he pushed it back furiously. His eyes were flaming as he slapped his hand on the desk. "Cut the video! Now stop it!" Pointing to the prosecution, he yelled. "This is the room where my kids are. This is impossible with them here." However, the video was already over, and his girls were gone along with his heritage and pride. Firm, yet calm, the judge rapped her gavel once. "You must restrain yourself, Mr. Combs." He took a seat again, but his gaze kept on the entrance of the courtroom, where Delilah, Jessie, and Chance had vanished only a few seconds before. No outcry was as loud as the stillness they left behind. The security officers stepped aside in the corridor as the girls came out, clearly startled. Delilah tried to remove the picture that was ingrained in her mind by pressing her palms to her face. Jessie's whole body shook as she leaned against the wall. Standing next to them, Chance grasped both of their shoulders. Her jaw was clenched so tightly that her neck trembled with strain, even though she wasn't weeping. I can't unsee that," Jessie whispered, barely audible. Her voice cracked under the weight of something far older than the trial, something buried in memory, now dragged into daylight. Delilah reached for her phone, her fingers fumbling as if seeking a lifeline. Chance gently lowered her sister's hand. "Not now," she replied. "Not here." The trial went on behind closed doors, but the emotional epicenter had already moved. It was obvious to everyone in the corridor that this was no longer a courthouse. The boundary between trauma and family has recently blurred in this battle zone. They were still Diddy's daughters on the surface, but they would never look at him the same way after this. She remained silent. She was not required to. Kim Porter, who was formerly renowned for her power, flair, and composure, seemed to be a completely different person in the 15 seconds that she was on film. Her soul was gone, her eyes were unrecognizable, and her body was slumped on the sofa. Not only was that sight upsetting, but it was also strange and unnatural, and her kids couldn't even recognize it. The world recalled Kim Porter as the stylish model, the devoted mother, and the stable figure in a turbulent music industry. She was the one who co-parented with dignity and purpose, even after she and Diddy split up. She brought up her 3 kids in his circle while maintaining her own grounded composure. At least she made an effort to protect them from the mayhem. That legacy has now been torn apart by her sudden presence in the White Party video. The prosecution didn't say anything more about her in court. There was no mention of name. It didn't matter that no statement was read. No one could forget that they had all seen her. She was like smoke in the air. The public's response outside the courtroom was instantaneous. Live coverage is interrupted by news networks. There was a social media explosion of hashtags. Number the truth about Porter, number the justice for Kim, and number the information she knew. Theories were rekindled with new vigor. Was her pneumonia death in 2018 as straightforward as the medical report stated? Or had it been something far darker? Silent rumors have shrouded Kim's death for years. She was allegedly getting ready to publish a candid memoir. Others said that there had been conflict in the Combs home just before she passed away. Although nothing specific ever came to light, acquaintances at the time characterized her as especially concerned, even worried. Up until recently, the case was concluded quietly. Everything changed when I saw her in that video. At the party, what was she doing? Why did she seem so confused? Did she choose to be there? Or had she been drawn into something from which she was unable to leave, as Cassie claimed? These issues were not addressed in the video itself. However, it presented a brand new, horrifying potential. Kim had not only observed Diddy's surroundings, she could have been a victim of it. Cassie seemed to comprehend what the footage had released, as she remained sat on the witness stand. In response to a direct question about whether Kim had been engaged in planning the events, she shook her head in a quiet but confident manner. "She was trapped," Cassie remarked, "just like me. She didn't want to be there." As rumors circulated the courtroom, the judge called for order. This was an irrevocable moment for Diddy's girls. For years, Delilah and Jesse had been keeping their mother's memories intact, like a priceless, immaculate photograph. However, what they witnessed on that television shattered that picture, not because their mother was weak, but rather because she had been vulnerable, and worse, maybe being silenced. Did he sit in quiet at the defense table? No more tantrums, no obvious response, but those who were carefully observing him saw that his eyes had shifted. His fists, which had been clenched in rage, now lay still. If there was ever a moment that caused him to lose control of this trial, it was Kim, not a witness or an attorney. Since the video revealed more than simply a distressed lady, it also showed a ghost, the echoes of a life gone too soon, and the question that might shape the remainder of this trial. Was Kim Porter overly knowledgeable? While everyone's attention was on Diddy, the guy on trial, and his distraught kids, something else was subtly changing. Not all broke, and not all fled. Two people stood still like statues as the courtroom was cleaned of gas and emotion. Combs, Justin, and Chance, Diddy's oldest son with stylist Misa Hilton, and his daughter by Sarah Chapman. When the video concluded, neither flinched nor moved. They were silent because they knew, not because they were shocked. Justin has been abnormally silent in public since the start of the trial, a boy brought up in the Empire's shadow. In many respects, he was Diddy's heir apparent and his eldest child. However, that championship came at a cost over time. Stories are hushed, scandals are hidden, and mentoring is controlled. According to those close to Justin, he was taught early on that adaptation was necessary to live in the Combs household. Leverage was money, not feelings. Additionally, Justin became proficient in the survival language. He saw how disloyalty was punished and loyalty was purchased. He became aware of when to talk and when to be quiet. And now he sat still, observing, waiting in the midst of the courtroom maelstrom. Chance, his sister, was calmer, more contemplative, and grew up next to Kim Porter's kids, but never exactly in their social circle. Chance always sensed the unwritten barrier, despite Diddy's efforts to show the world a cohesive family, according to sources. It was important that she wasn't Kim's kid, particularly when Kim passed away. The picture album spoke the truth. Kim's children, Christian, Jesse, and Delilah, often took center stage in Diddy's public homages. Despite being adored, Chance was seldom in the news. The emotional distance widened, and it was hard to overlook Kim's absence. After her death in 2018, Justin was the first to notice. He started talking to Chance in private, away from cameras and courtrooms, as someone sowing seeds, not as a brother. Ever ponder what really transpired with her? He allegedly requested in a private conversation. You ought to see it for yourself, in my opinion. Justin didn't have to exert himself. It was already painful. He just unlocked it. Chance's attitude evolved throughout the course of the next several weeks. She stopped posting on social media. According to her pals, she was agitated, stayed up late, and kept private journals in which she recorded her thoughts. Slowly and reluctantly, she started attempting to establish a bridge that had never really been between Delilah and Jesse. She just said, "Let's go," without bringing up the video or Justin's remarks. Only once. For him, for us, Believing they were going to court to defend their father, the twins nodded. However, Justin could have planned the whole thing. In addition to reportedly influencing Chance, rumors circulated throughout the legal community that he was the source of the White Party tape, that Justin found it, and that Justin secretly sent it over encrypted back channels to Cassie's legal team. Since Justin hadn't fled when the video started, he had watched. Therefore, if it was genuine, it was either the ultimate act of justice or treachery. And Justin didn't flinch when Diddy screamed for the video to end. He could have spoken more in that instant of stillness than any speech ever made in court. He was no longer only his father's son. He was engaging in self-deception. Cherian Diddy Combs created his legacy for decades by projecting the image of the devoted parent, in addition to his music, style, and business. The tycoon who sent his late girlfriend Kim Porter poignant Instagram tributes, danced with his daughters at Sweet 16s, and photographed with his kids at award events, Diddy seemed to be the odd outlier in a society preoccupied with broken families and failed celebrity. Even if a father loved aloud, mirror-like impressions might be misleading. The frame around that flawless photo was beginning to break within the courtroom. Kim's twin children, Delilah and Jesse, had looked up to their father. After their mother passed away, friends spoke about how they clung to his words, believing in his protection and trusting his sadness. He was more than just their father to them. He was also their pillar of support, their protector, and the one person who would never allow anything to happen to them. That trust, however, broke down as they sat in that courtroom seeing the footage of their mother. Confused, ill, and mute, they would both be haunted by Jesse's query in the corridor, which was little more than a whisper. Mom was there, but why? It was desperate, not rhetorical. It was the sound of someone attempting to comprehend how the lady who gave her life could be linked to the guy who reared her. The narrative was different, but just as heartbreaking, for Luck. She had discreetly developed her own personality in the background for years, as she watched her father encourage Kim's kids. Although Diddy had never turned her away, he had not given her the same level of protection that he had given the others. She was admired but not given priority, living on the periphery of the inner group. Standing in the wreckage of the courtroom now, she's seen both sides of the truth, the agony of being disregarded and the fear of being noticed at last. Furthermore, Justin, who will always be the Combs Empire's crown prince, could have gone too far.